Hold on just a second as we'll take a moment to pray, but for some reason that Wi-Fi keeps going out back there because I have not got it now again. And my sermon's there too, so we'll get that going. Jesus, we sure do love you. Thank you for loving us. I pray that you bless our time together. Lord, I pray that you'd help us to seek your face and to do your will. Pray that you bless us as we read concerning the psalm that is here. I pray that you'd help us to apply it to our lives. Lord, we need you. We love you. Amen. All right. So I want you to keep your finger there, and I also want you to turn to 2 Samuel, and chapter number 6. 2 Samuel, chapter number 6. Okay, 2 Samuel chapter number 6 and verse 15. Second Samuel chapter number 6 and we're going to start at verse 12. Y'all ready to read? And let's read. It says, "And it was told King David, saying, The Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom, and all that pertaineth unto him, because of the ark of God. So David went and brought the ark of God from the ark of God. So David went up and brought the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom into the city of David with gladness. And it was so that when they bear the ark of the Lord, had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. And David danced before the Lord with all his might. And David was girded with a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of trumpet. And the ark of the Lord came into the city of David. And Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through the window and saw David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. And they that brought in the ark of the Lord had set it in his place, the ark's place, in the midst of the tabernacle that David pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And as soon as David had made an end of burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, to every one a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, every one to his house. Then David returned to bless his household. Put your finger there. Put your finger there and go to Psalm 26. Psalm number 26. It says, Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have trusted also in the Lord. Therefore I shall not slide. Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart. For thy loving kindness is before mine eyes, and I have walked in thy truth. I have not sat with vain persons, neither will I go in with dissemblers. I have hated the congregation of evildoers, and will not sit with the wicked. I will wash my hands in innocency, so will I compass thine altar, O Lord, that I may publish with the voice of thanksgiving and tell of all thy wondrous works. Lord, I have loved the habitation of thy house, and the place where thine honor dwelleth. Gather not my soul with sinners, nor my life with bloody men, in whose hands is mischief, and their right hand is full of bribes. But as for me, I will walk in mine integrity. Redeem me, and be merciful unto me. My foot standeth in an even place. In the congregation will I bless the Lord. We have here 2 different passages, both regarding the same event. One, the passage in 2 Samuel chapter 6, is the case where David is finally able to bring the Ark of God back to Jerusalem. If you'll remember that the Ark of God, can I get this mic? Sorry, guys. If there's a night for anything to go wrong, it's tonight. Are we? Oh, okay, good. Thank you. All right. So we have here the case where David is able to bring the Ark of God back to Jerusalem. Now, it had gone missing for Jerusalem back in the days of Eli when he was high priest and Samuel was just Samuel really wasn't even on the scene or early on the scene. And these two, thank you very much. And these two were able to, now, it's always good to make sure that you have any little distraction, really get your mind off of what's going on. And so when things like this happen, it's terrible for the pastor, because now my mind is not in gear for preaching the sermon. So let's go back. The issue is David's bringing the ark from Obed-Edom. The ark has been missing from Jerusalem since the days of Eli, when Hophni and Phinehas took the ark out to go with Israel to fight against the Philistines. The Philistines win the battle, take the ark, and they put it back in the temple of their god, Dagon. Dagon ends up on the ground, bowing down before the ark of God. They put him back up. The next day he's down on the ground. His head's been cut off, and both his hands are missing. So something in the night is knocking these gods down and bowing down before the ark. The Philistines realize that there's something terrible going on, so they send it somewhere else. So the ark goes to the next town, and then the next town, and the next town. And in every town, God curses them with a physical ailment. The Bible calls it emerods. We would have another word for that today. But it must have been a most horrific event, because they bronzed them in gold. And anyway, it was bad news. So after a period of time, they get tired of this, and so they say, what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? And they said, well, let's do this. Let's take two cows, young. They haven't given birth. They're not attached to anything. Let's put the ark on a cart, and let's see where it goes. If it's of God, it's going to go back to their country. If it's not of God, they'll just wander the roads aimlessly. And sure enough, the ark takes off and heads for God's country. It comes to a man, and he puts it in his house, and for a good period of time, his house is blessed. David realizes, wow, this blessing's going on. We need this back in Jerusalem. The nation needs to be blessed. This belongs in the house of God. So they attempt to go get it, and they start bringing it to Jerusalem. But there's a problem. The oxen stumble, the cart shakes, the ark almost falls off. A man named Uzzah puts up his hand to steady the ark to keep it from falling. Well, you're not allowed to touch the ark. Okay, so Perez Uzzah, the name of that place, means a breach against Uzzah. God killed Uzzah where he stood. Said, no, you don't touch the ark. The ark was supposed to have two staves put into it and carried by man. It was never supposed to be put on a cart carried by oxen. It was supposed to be put on the backs of priests carrying it before the nation, and that's how they should have been taking it back. They should have read their Old Testament means and ways manual, but they failed to do so. So the ark stops in the town, or the ranch, if you will, owned by a man named Obed-Edom. And his house is blessed immensely. The ark is there 3 months, blessed immensely. The passage that we read in 2 Samuel chapter 6 is David finally saying, you know what, I gotta get the ark back. Because really for the period of 3 months that the ark was there at Obed-Edom, David was pouting. He was pretty mad at God. He was just, God, why did you do this? Why did you allow this? You know, you killed this, and how am I supposed to bring the ark back if you're going to kill everybody that's bringing it? And God's thinking, well, had you brought it back the right way to begin with, we wouldn't have had this problem now, would we? So God goes through these things, and David's dealing with this, and finally he comes out of his period of depression, almost, of pouting and being upset with the Lord, and he says, you know what, we just got to get it back. So this is what he does. He says, hey, we're going to do this right. He grabs some of the high priests. They get some staves. They carry the ark on their shoulders, and every 6 steps from Obed-Edom's house, which is a good ways away by walking, to the temple, every 6 steps, David's conducting a sacrifice. He goes, I want to make sure I'm on God's good side. I want to make sure he's happy with us. I want to make sure he's pleased. And he's got the trumpets trumpeting and the singers singing, and he's got praises going on. And this is quite the fanfare. It's an incredible perception. And they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's sacrifice. And they'd sacrifice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's sacrifice. And they'd sacrifice another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can tell it took a long time to get from Obed-Edom's house to the temple. Coming into Jerusalem, we have David, is elated. He has been sacrificing and praising the Lord for hours probably by now. And he is spiritually pumped. And so he gets there. He's dancing before the Lord, having a great time. Michal, his wife, Saul's daughter, is upset with him. And she's cursed for her reaction to his enjoyment of the Lord. But we get down here to Psalm 26. And he writes this after his after this procession, after they get done and they're praising, and here's Michal's words, and he writes a psalm after that entire process. He says, "Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have trusted also in the Lord, therefore I shall not slide. Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart. For thy loving kindness is before mine eyes. I have walked in thy truth. I have not sat with vain persons, neither will I go in with dissemblers. I have hated the congregation of evildoers, and will not sit with the wicked. I will wash my hands in innocency, so I compass thine altar, O Lord, that I may publish." And I like this. You can read everything up there. He says, "Judge me, examine me." Why? Because thy loving kindness, the ark of God, the presence of God, is before my very eyes. He's sitting there in the temple, and he can see the ark of God as they're getting ready to put it inside. And he says, I can see your presence. The significance of the ark of God is the fact that it really was the representation of God's presence in Israel. And you got to understand that when the ark of God was taken out by the Philistines, what happened? Hophni's wife had a son whose name was Ichabod. The glory is departed. All right, they felt like God had been taken away, that they had done something wrong, and God had removed his fellowship from them. And David's bringing the ark back was really like Israel saying, "Guess what? I got right with God today." You ever been to a preaching conference or a revival or a youth conference or something, and the preaching stirred your heart, and so much so that by the end you're just ready to make just about any decision that comes down the path, and man, you understand, I need to get right with God, and you get right with God. That euphoric feeling that you feel afterwards, where I'm right with God, and I'm serving, and I'm excited about the future, what God's going to do for me. And that's the way David was feeling right now as he saw the presence of God back in the tabernacle, going back into the Holy of Holies. And he writes this, he says, Judge me, O Lord, for I've walked in mine integrity. I've trusted in you, therefore I'm not going to slide. Examine me, O Lord, prove me, try my reins and my heart. Like thy loving kindness is before mine eyes. I've walked in thy truth. He said, I will not sit with vain persons. I won't go in with dissemblers. I've hated the congregation of evildoers. I will not sit with the wicked. I will wash my hands in innocency. I will compass thine altar, O Lord. He says, I'm gonna hug your presence, God. He said, why? Why? That I may publish. He says, I want to be able to publish with the voice of thanksgiving and tell of all thy wondrous works. Lord, I have loved the habitation. I've loved being in your church. I've loved being in your church. And the place where thine honor dwelleth. Gather not my soul with sinners, nor my life with bloody men, in whose hands is mischief, and their right hand is full of bribes. But as for me, I will walk in mine integrity. Redeem me, be merciful unto me. My foot standeth in an even place. In the congregation will I bless the Lord. So here's this process. He brings the ark of God back, and he's extremely excited about it. His wife, his enemy's daughter, really is down on him about it. The Bible says that God curses her for her attitude concerning both he and the ark. He comes back to watch as the priests are taking it into the temple, and he sees, wow, your loving kindness is before me. It's your presence, God. Man, it's been a long time coming, and I have done my best. He said, but I've kept myself from these people. I've stayed away from the wrong crowd. I've stayed away from the wrong people, and I'm seeking after you. He said, I'm avoiding vain people and dissemblers, and I'm staying away from the congregation of evildoers and the wicked. He says, I want to wash my hands in innocency. There's a symbol of interaction there when they did some kind of either business interaction or judgment. We saw it with Pilate. Pilate came and he washed his hands before the congregation of Israel. And he says, his blood is not on my hands. And basically what he was saying is, I'm washing my hands in innocency so that you all know I didn't want to crucify him. You crucified him. All right, so this is what David's saying. He says, listen, everybody else could come and say, well, David, he's thinking right now about his wife, well, who are you dancing before the Lord? He said, if you read the whole passage, he said, well, I'm the man God chose to take the place of your father. That's who. She's quiet after that, and we find a curse not too long after that. So he says, I'm washing my hands in innocency. I've not done this pridefully. I've not done this for my own gain. I've not done this for the purpose of bringing honor to myself. I've done it because, God, I love your church. I love church. I want the presence of God to be at church. I want the nation to be blessed, and I want the people to be blessed, and I want you here with us. I'm going to wash my hands in innocency. And he says all this, and I love the phrase there in verse 7, that I may publish with a voice of thanksgiving and tell of all thy wondrous works. In here is what's necessary to be able to speak thankfully. In here is a formula that David gives us to be able to speak thankfully. He gives us statement number 1, I have not sat with vain persons. I have not sat with vain persons. The word there in the Hebrew is empty and worthless people. You ever met one of them? I know a few. And basically, they're people that waste your time, that take up too much of your time, and basically just soak things out of you. We call it Facebook today. Yeah. Everybody's like, it's vain, it's empty. There's nothing really there that it provides for you. I'm on it very rarely, maybe sometimes once a day. Most of my interaction on there is to contact somebody or to interact with somebody, to be a blessing to them, to encourage them, or to encourage folks to come to church or things like that. I really wish we didn't have a Facebook because social media has made us an unsocial culture. And so I've not sat with vain persons. I've not sat with that crowd. There's no need for me. And if I want to be a thankful person, I got to make sure I'm not wasting my time with people that are empty. And can I be, this is going to sound kind of cruel. There's some people you just don't need in your life. And we think oftentimes that, everybody that comes into contact with us or has any dealings with us, we need to keep them right close by. Can I help you have a happy life? If they're empty and vain, not vain like we would think. We think vanity today is it's all about me and look how beautiful I am. That's not the biblical word for vain. The biblical word for vain is empty, meaning worthless. They don't bring anything to the table. They're not benefiting your relationship. They're not helping you. You can help them all you want to, and there are times for that. But if they're not reacting to what you're putting into them, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. I mean, not everybody Jesus talked to got saved. Not everybody he talked to believed. And what did he tell the disciples to do when they met people like that? Shake the dust off your feet and go on. And that's exactly what the psalmist here, David, is talking about. He says, I've not wasted my time with empty, worthless people. I don't do that. I don't have time for that, God. I'm trying to focus on you and on others who need it. He says, neither will I go in with dissemblers. Dissemblers are those that are secret or concealed. And you've met the person. And their whole life is like a secret. Hey, can I talk to you? It's like, just like right over here. No, you can talk to me over here with everybody else. You know, I don't have too many secrets. Now, as a pastor, I can't do that with every conversation. Some people do need privacy. But as just a general individual, I'm sorry, there's not a whole lot of things in life that need to be done in secret. In fact, you can ask my wife, I hate secrets. I do. This coming from a guy who came from intelligence with multiple classifications and all that. I don't like secrets. Secrets hurt people. I like open, honest communication. Well, we really don't like you. Okay, tell me to my face so I know how to react with you. I'm okay with that. I really hate your guts. Great, thanks. I know how to react with you. I'm not going to send you a Christmas card this year. You know, I don't mind. It's fine. That's your loss. I'm going to go on. But you know, dissemblers. They're like, hey, you know, let me tell you where dissemblers show up the most. Teen girls. Teen girls. Oh, help us. The drama from all those mamas out there. I mean to tell you, and it's funny. And they're like, well, Will's my friend, and he can't be your friend. Why? Will's my friend too. No, you can't talk to him, Steve. He's my friend. Come on, let's go this way. Secret, concealed. You know what I'm talking about? And even some adults do that. And I want to smack them and say, hey, this isn't junior high. This is real life. This is adulthood. Stop it. Let's go on. But these people that want to create these secret relationships and these secret ties, and we have something that nobody else has, and he's my BFF or she's my BFF and all this kind of stuff. And you know what? Fine, get rid of it. You didn't know that? I'm sorry, I was keeping a secret. Will's my BFF. But you find those people in life, and you know what? Drama follows those people. And to quote a YouTube personality, ain't nobody got time for that. So, dissemblers. David said, you know what? I stay away from people like that. I don't, he says, I have not sat with vain persons. I don't get involved with dissemblers. He says, I have hated the congregation, or the assembly, the getting together of evildoers. Now, evildoers means bad or injurious people. Bad or injurious people. And there's a number of ways that a person can be bad or injurious to you. One is they can actually hurt you physically. Okay? Those kind of people are pretty easy to spot to begin with. Okay? It's the other people that are bad and injurious to my spirit and my testimony that you really got to look out for. There are some people that are together that we feel like we've got to be involved in their group, and they have no intention of being a blessing to you or furthering your testimony. And you know what? You need to hate the gathering of that group of people. Not even want to be around it. You know, some of this really talks to the issue of learn to enjoy being by yourself. You know, there's nothing wrong with being by yourself. Nothing at all. And so many people struggle with that. And it's like, where? There's nothing in the Bible that tells us we've got to have friends and family and these people that like drool all over us and they're like, oh, no. Learn to be by yourself. Enjoy the presence of God. You know, my dream vacation is a cabin in the woods by myself for 3 days. No fishing pole, no boat, my Bible, and a notebook and a piece of paper, or my notebook and a pen. It's a dream vacation for me. Just to be by myself and let God talk to me. One of these days, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take off and run to the deepest cabin I can find and sit on the edge of a lake and watch the sunset and not do anything but let him speak to me. No cell phone, no nothing, just me and him. That floats my boat. And I think God hears, hey, listen, you know what? You want to be happy? Don't get wrapped up in who's next to you. Now, granted, many of us are married. You ought to love your wife. Love you. You can have a cabin on the other side of the lake. But you ought to love your spouse. You ought to love your family. You ought to raise them right. And I'm not diminishing all of that. I'm talking about all the other people. All the other people. The vain people. The secret people. The hateful, hurtful people. And then he says there in the last part of verse 5, and I will not sit with the wicked. It gets to more of a criminal intent. Somebody who just loves doing wrong. Yeah, it amazes me. Some people are just wired that way. I'm not. I'm wired to write. I'm not a perfect person. But people get to talking and like, hey, wouldn't it be neat if, and they're talking about some totally unlawful activity, and they consider that fun. Oh, it'd be so cool if. No, it wouldn't. Absolutely not. What, you Mr. Goody Two-Shoe? Well, yeah, I guess so. If that makes me that, then yes, I am. But I have no desire to go out and see how fun it is to do wrong. But there are people that are wired to see, hey, let's see how much trouble we can get away with. And it's like, oh, no, wait, hold on. I'm not even going to hang out with that group. I'm not even going to hang out with that group. And you need to be very careful about the people in your life and not be afraid to say, you're not good for me. You're not healthy for me. Having worked in the business world for a number of years, one thing I've learned, the customer is not always right. And not every company that you do business with is good for you. I've recommended my company, hey, these guys aren't the best. They're looking to gouge you at every angle and make it as cheap as possible for them. You know what? We ain't a not-for-profit agency. You're supposed to make money. So they ain't, hey, well, we don't get rid of customers. There are some customers you just need to get rid of. Can I just be real honest with you? There are some people in your life that you just need to leave alone. You say, well, it's my cousin you're talking about. Nothing in the Bible says you have to have a great relationship with your cousin. That's my whatever. There's nothing in the Bible that says you have to have a great relationship with anybody other than your spouse. And honor your father and mother. Outside of that, I'm supposed to look to the godly authorities in my life. I'm supposed to look to God. But if you study through Scripture, now let's not diminish the fact that we're supposed to be good Christians. We're supposed to sprinkle our conversation and our actions with others with a good deal of love. Don't go around being mean and hateful. But you know what? I find a lot of Christians who live life hurt, downtrodden, mangled on the inside. And you know what? Life is, you look at their life and they're like, why? It's not their life that's the problem, it's who's in it. David says, I'm not going to have any of these people in my life. Why? Because I want to be able to sound thankful when I talk about the wondrous things that God has done. I want to publish with the voice of thanksgiving. My voice needs to have in it the sense, you know, they often say, you ever meet somebody with a southern drawl? And you just smile. There's something about a southern drawl that's got like the smile built into it. And you just smile. And I love it. You're talking to somebody on the, working with a bill or something, and you'll talk and, hello, sir. How are you today? They're like, where are you from, ma'am? Alabama. I was like, I love that southern smile in your voice. My voice ought to sound like thanksgiving. But it can't if I've got all this crowd of people around me. If I've got vain people that are taking up my time, if I've got dissemblers that are hurting my relationship with others because they've always got this secret thing going on, if I'm hanging out with the evildoers, or I even relish the chance to be a part of their crowd, and then there's the wicked evil people that, hang around, they're always devising something that's illegal or unlawful or not right just to see how fun it is. And these types of people draw me away from being able to speak with thanksgiving in my voice. Because I'm supposed to be talking about the wondrous things that God has done for me. And if I'm wrapped up in drama from the dissembler, and if I'm wrapped up in the issues from the vain people who take up too much time, and now I don't have time for other healthy relationships, if I'm longing to be a part of that crowd of evildoers, or if I'm sitting down and letting, just devising wicked imaginations with the wicked, one, I'm not even hearing God anymore, and I'm not seeing his wondrous works. I'm not seeing the things that God is doing for me in this life, because my view is clouded. And then when I step out of that crowd, all of a sudden I begin to see the wondrous things that God is doing. And now my voice, I can speak with thanksgiving. Now, I don't know about you, but that's what I want. I want people to, when you meet, I have to tell you, there are some people that are just great at exhortation. They say, hey, how you doing? We had dinner the other night with pastor and his wife in the area, John and Martha Cole. They were over at our house, and we were eating dinner. John and I talked for probably 4 hours. The women are like, are you guys done talking yet? And I have to say, that guy has mastered an ability I wish I had. And it's the gift of exhortation. He just makes you feel like you're the best guy on the face of the earth. You get done talking to him, and it's like, oh, man, your people are so lucky to have you as their pastor, and you're so well studied. And I'm thinking, man, I got to learn to speak like this guy does. I don't have that gift. I'm like, shut up, make it happen. That's me. And I lament that, and I told him so. I said, that's probably one of the things I lack the most in my ability to be a good pastor is I don't speak with compassion. I don't think with compassion. I have a very jaded filter based upon my experiential learning with a whole lot of bad situations that I've mentored or gotten people through. So I said that's a privilege that you're able to do so. But, you know, I want to be the kind of person that when somebody else is talking to them, they're happy on the inside. I want to be the kind of person that when somebody is talking to them, they're thankful that they got to cross my path that day. I don't want to be the kind of person that says, you know, when somebody comes up, hey, how you doing? Well, then you know you're in for it. I want to be the kind of person that says, you know what, glory to God, man, God is good. Ain't he good? Ain't he good? I mean, look at what God's done for you today. I want to be the kind of person that encourages somebody else to smile when they finish talking to me. And I want to be able to speak with the voice of thanksgiving. You know, we've talked about God doing things with a lot of different people. He's worked with murderers. He's worked with whoremongers. He's worked with idolaters. He's worked with God's worked with a lot of individuals. He's never worked with a lazy man, though. And I got to thinking about this week as I was considering my sermon. I don't know that there's too many people that God worked with that were unthankful. I think thankfulness is something that is very attractive to God, meaning that God is drawn to it. And when we begin to be thankful and our speech is salted with thanksgiving, our lives permeate thanksgiving, I think God looks at that and goes, now there's somebody you want to be good to. That's something I need to work on. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Nobody's looking around. How about you?